The Menasha Board of Public Works meeting. Clerk Aliazi, could you please take roll call?
Oops. Sorry. Alderman Kruger.
Here.
Alderman Tom Grady.
Here.
Alderman Ted Grady. Here. Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Nichols. Here. Alderman Taylor. Alderman Sevenick. Here. Alderman Langdon.
Here.
Hey, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the June 4th, 2018 minutes. Is there a motion? Alderman Langdon.
Thank you, Chairperson Kruger. I will make the motion to approve the minutes from the June 4th, 2018 meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman Rapalla. Are there any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Opposed? Yeah. Minutes are accepted. On to communications. We have one communications for the railroad crossings. Director Radomski, could you please address this?
Yes, this is a communication that I'm submitting to the council. I've had a number of you contact me regarding railroad crossings throughout the city. I appreciate those contacts. However, no matter what I do, no matter how many times I contact the railroad, there doesn't seem to be any action on their end. I have contacted Senator Roth's office and spoken with the aide there, and he was proud to say that he's had one crossing changed in 7 years. Gave me a lot of hope that we could get something done that way. So what I've done is I've compiled a map showing the every single crossing within the city, and also given you the number to call. If you do happen to get resident complaints, we've been told numerous times that this is all based on a complaint-driven cycle as far as when the railroad does replace their crossings. So the more people that we can have complaining for these railroad crossings, the better off we are as far as getting them fixed. So just to give you guys information as far as, which crossing number, who to call, and then you guys can call Canadian Railroad, and I will continue working on my end to improve some of these crossings as well.
Thank you. Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also thank you for putting this together for us, Josh. Because these meetings are televised, I want to give that number out on the air. And it was too bad I didn't call ahead of time and have the IT put it up for us. But that number is get your pens and papers out. That number, if you have a problem with a railroad crossing, is 1-800-232-0144. Again, 800-232-0144. And this is a big issue in the city. It's, I've been on the council a long time, and it just reoccurs all the time. We have thousands of cars that go over certain streets, and if anything, I'd like to see at least the Racine Street and the De Pere Street railroad tracks taken care of, because they're the ones that are used the most and abused the most on our vehicles. Thank you.
Alderman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Ramadowski, can't the DOT help us with this? Certainly, I would think there's a railroad commissioner or someone at the DOT level that could help us.
We have reached out to the DOT. They are able to help on some of the DOT highways. However, they aren't much help on local roads. Most of our railroad crossings are on local roads, not necessarily on state highways. I can continue to make contact with them regarding that. However, it is up to the railroad to fix the crossings that they need to fix.
It's funny, the state makes us put a bike lane in, but you can't get a railroad fixed.
Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to make the railroad bad guys here either, as I will say that the railroad company has been, Canadian National, has been a good friend of the city of Menasha's. And I believe that we can work well with them and that hopefully we'll have some better crossings in the future. I just don't want to bash the railroad. You know, they can't be everywhere. I mean, you look at the map here and look at all the different crossings. You know, they're going over the other way, not across. So it's up to us to call them and take care of it.
And in my conversation with the railroad, they are aware that they do have issues with the crossings. However, they only have funding for X amount of crossings,
Exactly.
and their funding is not at the level it needs to be.
Any other discussions? Seeing none, we're going to move on to discussion and action items then. The first, we're going to take the two together, seeming to apply to the same thing on 2 different days. The street use applications for Midwest Sunsplash for both Friday and Saturday, June 27th and June 28th, from 4 p.m. to 12 on Friday and 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. on Saturday. Director Adamski, you explained to me that there are reasons why these are not signed off on. Could you please explain what is going on?
Yes, so we have not signed off on these. The main reason that we have not signed off is the liability insurance. We have not received adequate insurance documentation to this point, but we did feel that due to the timing of the event, it was important to get it on this agenda. There's also 2 other questions that staff has that needs council direction. They are relating to the ordinance that we do have for street use permits. There is a mandatory denial of street use permit, and in it, it's 7-8-1E, and in it, it says an application for a street use permit shall be denied if 1, the proposed street use is primarily for private or commercial gain, and number 5, the proposed use equally could be held in a public park or other location. So these are 2 items that we're not necessarily comfortable saying that we could answer it fully yes or no. So we did have PETA and Kay here to be able to explain exactly how they do benefit YouthGo and how it's a good event for the downtown area of Menasha. So PETA and Kay, can you guys stand up? I'll bring the mic over.
Hold on, wait before you speak. I'd like to ask the board for unanimous consent for to hear from the 2 individuals. Okay, go ahead, sir.
First off, I wanted to let you know we have,
Up at the end of the mic, please.
our insurance people had emailed our insurance documentation on May 7th to the city, but I think with Carol being out sick or, on leave, she didn't get it, so we do have that here, and we can resend it. But she actually sent it back to us too, so we'll fill it out and send it out to her.
And we'll get that, taken care of.
Yeah.
Case.
We do have the city listed as an additional insured as well as YouthGo on that policy. Questions? Yeah, I mean,
First things first, last year, thank you guys for letting us have it last year.
Yeah, it was a great success last year. YouthGo, actually, we raised $12,000 for YouthGo that night, which is equal to what they do with their entire haunted house event. So they were just thrilled to have an event, that happened in kind of a nice condensed amount of time in a real controlled environment. We didn't have any safety issues or any problems at all with anything, and they raised as much as they do over a long period of work. So they were excited. Their board approved us doing it again this year, and we've been working on it. It's bigger, better, more sponsors. We're hoping for an even more fun event. We did have a time change because of the street work, and we had met with the city in November and again in February to try to work out when to have it, and picked a date that we thought was a good timing around other events that were happening in the area. July 27th and 28th. We decided to do a Friday night event in addition to the Saturday event, just because the stage is already up in Curtis Reed, and we've got volunteers that are willing to come out. We're going to do a craft beer night. We're using beer from Emprise and Lion's Tail and Fifth Ward and Stone Arch are all donating beer, and we're going to have 2 bands that night. So that's why we have the additional street use permit. Music's from 6 to 11 that night, so we'll just have setup time and takedown time.
Setup time is from 4 to 12, and for Saturday, we would like you to shut down in the morning like we did last year, was shut down at 6 o'clock. we need to get in the stages to set up the stages and all the sound and all of that, as we talked about it.
Yeah, so Friday night's just a closure from the alleyway to Main Street on Milwaukee Street, just so we have safety issues with putting the bathrooms on the street, and the beer trailer will be in that enclosed little part of Curtis Reed Park there. So we want to, just for safety reasons, have that part of Milwaukee Street used. And then on Saturday, we'll shut the street down from, to allow people to go to the bank. So we're going to be just closing that, I would say, the east side of the street until noon, and then we actually delayed the start of our event to noon, just so we wouldn't have to shut that street down until that time. So after noon, we're going to shut down once the bank closed. Community First is one of our major sponsors, so we
And
wanted
Faith
to.
Technologies too,
Yeah,
so.
so the two major sponsors are actually downtown.
Right downtown.
People. We do set up the vendor stuff inside the Faith Technology parking lot. We met with the different committees last week and decided to add some dumpsters there, and we're going to actually put the porta potties in the Faith Technology parking lot instead of way in the back. We're going to have them towards the front for safety issues. So we've made some minor changes from that perspective, but we're going to use the nice end of Mill Street. We're excited. We're going to set a stage up right there in front of the pillars, so I think that'll really
That'd be a
showcase.
Beautiful backdrop.
Yeah,
for
that
Menasha.
event.
And hopefully what we're trying to do is actually build more tourism to come down in here, downtown
Yeah.
Menasha. And hopefully have a better crowd this year if you guys let us use it again. I mean, we'll be more than willing to keep that festival here and keep it growing as we expand. Help youth go, because that's the bottom of the pan right now. Those kids need a lot of help.
Yeah,
They're running out of
Pete and I
place.
are actually really proud of the fact we got, I don't know if you guys know of Impact Fox Cities, but we got them an Impact Fox Cities grant for $12,000 this year too. So they're going to be doing a brand new kitchen starting in the next few weeks over there. So yeah, we're really
Yep.
excited about that.
We have a lot of kids that are homeless and, if we can feed them, that's what we try to do. Everything we're doing right now is to help youth go to actually, hopefully we can get a bigger building, more vehicles to help those
Yeah.
kids who need more help. There's a lot of kids that have really issues at home, so.
Director, correct me if I'm wrong, the way I understood it from what I was told is that the issue on part of it was that the proceeds coming in from certain parts of the event were being split to Youth Go, if I remember correctly, but the sponsorships are not, and that's where the question is on staff, on whether or not it's being more for a profit type thing, or if it's going for the nonprofit, because the
the-
sponsorship money is not being shared with the, with any of the nonprofits. So I think that's one of the
Well,
concerns. Correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, is that correct?
Well,
Okay.
that's how it was
Okay.
described, but actually,
Okay.
that's how we'd be able to do this. All the sponsorship money goes there. They are hiring us to make sure we have that festival.
Yeah,
We have to pay staff. There's a lot of stuff we have to pay, staff advertising, that comes out of our pockets. But
So the sponsorship, we do not, like when we do our budgeting at the beginning of the year, we make sure we are not spending more money on any of the things that are happening, the hard costs, we call it, beyond the sponsorship money. And then the beer money and the money that we generate from the food vendors after that, some of that comes to pay PETA and I, and the rest goes to Youth Go.
we got security
Yeah.
that we have to have our own security.
So
There's other
we
things.
pay the insurance out of our pocket, we pay for the additional security out of our pocket. So there is a budget, Kelly can certainly share that with you
Yep.
if you'd like.
Okay.
But it's not, we certainly aren't making a huge amount of money doing it.
If we were making a huge amount of money, I would be in a different business altogether.
That just
Yeah.
was part of it that was
Yeah.
brought
Yeah.
up to me, so
Yeah.
I had asked the questions. Alderman Taylor.
I think it's inappropriate that the director's putting them on the spot on sponsorship dollars. We have Youth Go on here, fine organization since the 1960s. and
Alderman Taylor,
thank you for
the director did not put anybody on the spot. I asked the question because I was informed that that's what the concern was
We
with
asked
the
them to
staff.
speak on the.
Do not
on
blame the
Youth Go,
director on that.
How much money was going to Youth Go.
Do not blame the director on that, that's all I'm saying. You may continue.
Well, I think it's inappropriate that we ask that. Youth Go's listed on here, wonderful organization since the 1960s, and I thank you for coming to Menasha, putting this wonderful event on. There's not many people out there anymore that put together festivals, and there's not a lot of people that like to volunteer for festivals anymore, so thank you for showcasing downtown Menasha.
Yeah, we
in our-
appreciate you letting us do it, it's
Yeah,
fun. And
We really love to keep it here, as long as we can and make it bigger. If we can make it a whole week thing. it would
we
be
are not
nice.
quitting our day jobs to do festivals, but.
But it's, something about the city, I'll tell you something straight up, for working down here with these guys here, I think that this city is awesome. This is like one of the cities that's gonna be like New York. It's so beautiful, I honestly do, I
Okay.
personally like it myself.
Well, that was,
Set
okay,
up?
so the Jefferson Park versus, let me just
Yeah.
talk about that. We really wanted it to be kind of an urban street fair feel. We really loved that about it. Kelly at Youth Go actually had an event at Jefferson Park, and she said there were a lot of issues kind of containing the crowd, and they did have some fights break out there. She said it just was not as easy to keep a kind of oversight over all the people. So we do like the fact that we put volunteer security people at each kind of exit point. You know, you can't get out through the little, I call the community sit-down area where the table is. You can't get out without seeing someone. You know, so there's someone watching to make sure people aren't taking liquor in and off of what we call the park area. And that also kind of controls the kids running in and out. So it's much easier for us to patrol between the buildings and the street
And I think
in
so,
the enclosed city
on the
area.
chief's police department, I think so much more easier for them too, right? For containing.
Yeah.
So the pluses, minuses there, right? Well, we
And-
thank you guys for having us
Yeah.
here. We appreciate it very much.
And thank you for providing the second day and showcasing some of our downtown businesses and their
Yeah.
products. Thank you.
I hope.
Any other questions for us?
Any other questions you guys have for us? We'd love to
Alderman
answer.
Grotti.
I think maybe you just answered it right there, with the downtown businesses being open. Or
Yes.
are they aware of this event? And I
Yes,
think
actually-
So they know that Friday night?
Yes, all about downtown businesses, they're for it because we don't put anything in front of their stores. We want people to walk into their store and they'll be part of the festival altogether.
Right.
So I think so from some of you folks who went downtown and talked to some of them, there's a plus and minuses. You learn the first year, the second year, you know, until you go through all those issues and solve it. But I think so, majority.
We were at the Boom meeting, was that 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, too, to tell them what was going on. A lot of them are sponsors. A lot of them, we asked them to give $150, and then they can, we've recommended that they actually occupy the space outside of their building with a tent to make it look like they're, and the people that did that last year had great, I mean, my God, ask Bill Banty sold more ice cream than he sold his
All
entire,
year.
yeah.
So
They had-
that's, I mean, there's a plus and minuses, and we asked them to stay a little later to open, and they're willing to do it. Because I think so this year it's a home run if we do it, you know, when we do it.
Pray for sunshine, that's all.
Sunshine, that's it.
Alderman Sevenick.
And for you guys, what the kind of music we have everything from funk this year, Zydeco, salsa, reggae, rock, blues. We'll have everything.
Yeah,
We'll
it's gonna
cover
be
it
fun.
all. So, any time of the day we come there, at each stage we'll have something for you, guaranteed.
Alderman Sevenick, you have the floor.
Thank you. So, you know, this event is July 28th, and we have no signatures of approval from police, fire, public works, and city attorney. So my thing is I think these questions should have went before those individuals so that they could have signed that off. And so we're at a situation here where they haven't signed it off. So I think that so that they can do additional advertising and get moving forward here, because I don't have a problem with this. I guess I'm almost going to have to ask the individual that are here, does the police, fire, the public works department have any issues with this event going on?
We do not. We just needed to have the insurance before we can sign off on it. That was the biggest holdup on this. The other two items were, you know, we wanted Pete to be here to just kind of make the council aware, and the council would make the final decision on, you know, that end of it. But yeah, we just needed the endorsements is really what endorsement and
This still
valid
goes to the
insurance.
council though for the second.
It still
right?
goes to council
So
next week.
I'll
and
move to recommend to the common council, and by that time, we should have those signatures and
Second.
move forward.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman Taylor. Is there-
And that's for both days, by the way.
For both days, okay, and we'll take them all as one, okay? Is there any discussion, any more discussion? Seeing none, can we take a roll call vote?
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Okay, moving on to action item number 3 is ordinance O-13-18, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Article C of the Code of Ordinances, introduced by Alderman Kruger. Director Adamski, could you please explain the ordinance change?
This will allow an extra one spot of parking on the north side of Main Street near Taco. Our current ordinance is for 87 feet east of Taco to be no parking, and this is modifying it to be 67 feet east.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Or okay, is there a motion? Alderman Langdon.
I'll make the motion to move forward to council, O-13-18, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Article C of the Code of Ordinances, introduced by Alderman Kruger.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any discussion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you. How will this, if in any way at all, impact traffic flow at that intersection?
We believe traffic impacts will be minimal. The only movement that could potentially be impacted is a right turn from Main Street onto northbound Taco if there's 5 or 6 cars waiting and you can't get by because of that last parked car. That would be the only time that you'd have any issues.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? See none, can we take a roll call?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Moving on to action item number 4 is ordinance O-14-18, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Article C of the Code of Ordinances, introduced by Alderman Kruger. Director Adamski, could you please enlighten us on this one?
This was brought to our attention from Chief Stika. One of his officers had noticed that we do have signage up near the school on De Pere Street and 15th, and we had no ordinance that would actually enforce that signage. So this is to clean up that signage to actually be able to enforce that in the future, and also allow for it to be, no parking, standing, or stopping in that area, because what's happening right now is people are kind of stopping there and letting their kids out, and the kids are running across the street, so we don't want that.
Alderman Langdon.
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to forward 0-14-18, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Article C of the Code of Ordinances, introduced by Alderman Kruger.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. A second by Alderman Tom Grady. Is there any discussion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you. Just a clarification on my part, all the other school zones are listed in the ordinance and this one is simply being added?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, can we have a roll call?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Moving on to action item number 5, the payment for Vinton Construction Company Contract Unit number 2018-1 for the Main Street reconstruction for $86,651.40, which is payment number 4. Director Adamski, is there anything out of the ordinary on this, or pretty much?
Pretty much just standard
Run-of-the-mill.
work that they had completed during that time period. Project is looking good, so it's pretty much done on their end. So should see a final payment in 2 weeks.
Great. Can we have a motion? Alderman Langdon.
Yes. I'd like to forward to council the payment for the Vinton Construction Company Contract Unit Number 2018-01 for the Main Street reconstruction in the amount of $86,651.40, and that would be payment number 4.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any discussion? See none, can we take a roll call?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Moving on to the last item, item number 6 is the discussion of possible action for the Main Street fountain. I will open it up to any alderman that would like to discuss that. Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you. I have had conversations with Park Director Tungate, and he understood that there was some wobbling going on with the fountain. It's not the same as what we had before. I'm not completely happy for a municipal fountain. I think when it comes to something like that, it should really be high quality, high end like we had. And we call this the International Fountain. And I think Alderman Taylor will explain more of that later. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, how did we get this? What happened to the other one? You know, I know you've mentioned there were some issues with the motor, and so if he could maybe address that, and then we'll see where we go with this.
Yeah, no, thank you. I can give you a little bit of a backstory on the fountain. So I was asked by Alderman Taylor, where is the old fountain? Well, we do have the old fountain. As far as I've been told, it's in very rough condition. It may have some freeze thaw damage to it.
Okay.
It's 20-plus years old. The decision to make the fountain, to purchase the fountain that we have, was made by folks that are retired and not with us at this point. Josh and I really didn't have any involvement in that. I think it was probably purchased with an eye toward the budget a little bit. I don't think they wanted to overspend on a fountain. But so today we had a meeting with the vendor, and he suggested some options. What we have right now is a plastic floating, fountain that's secured down. We did change the fountain pattern on it a little bit. There is some adjustability to it, so it looks better than it did, I think, a week ago today. But the other options that are available to us are a fixed base option, which is really what we had before. It's more expensive, but it's a more substantial fountain, probably better in an urban fountain environment. But the downside being the budget. If the vendor is willing to work with us if we did want to exchange it, swap it out, or whatever, he's willing to work with us on that. But the question would come into play, the cost difference. There's close to a $4,000 cost difference between what we have and what we could have. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. We really don't have any recommendation, but we're sort of in the process of figuring that out right now. But you guys, you all know what we know right now.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is a soft point with me because, boy, I'll tell you, when it comes to fountains in this community, there's probably more discussion about this than the steam utility, believe me. And we had a beautiful fountain. I mean, it really was a showcase for our downtown, and I really am not completely happy with what we have now. I think I could live with it, but if we do have the other fountain, I think we should try to fix it and reinstall it. It's called the International Fountain. We brought waters from all over the world to put in there. I have videos of that day, when we had, if people don't recall, Bill Herziger, he was a key player in that, and I just hate to see it not be what it was. So, but I'm going to keep a very open mind and listen to what staff, wants to go and do as far as going forward here. And but I just think that the best solution is to put the apparatus that we have, fix that, and put that back in there, because that's a beautiful fountain. And it's hard for me to talk and not give them a little more history, because I know James wants to, and I think it's important that the community know a little more about it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I love history, so I'll give you the history on it. In 1991, my wife and I were driving back from the Kohler Club, had dinner there, and went through Chilton, and they went through a brand new reconstruction, and here's this beautiful fountain downtown. Main Street Menasha was going to be done in 1992. And we had the very successful then Menasha Action Council, which was our downtown organization. And I approached this to them, and they went out, they did the fundraising, and a very successful fundraising. The city, all they had to do was put the drain in the fountain, and that didn't happen. And all it was $2,000, and for some reason that got left out, but I appreciate the city putting off a drain in the fountain at this reconstruction. My wife and I, a year before the event, went out and sent vials to all the U.S. embassies around the world, and we collected 40 countries of water. We still have all the documents, just wonderful people in the embassies. I remember the one in Japan, they walked up on I forget what mountain is here, but Mount Fuji, I think it was, and how they talked about it was a beautiful spring afternoon, and they took the sample out of a stream on that mountain. Some kind of sad ones. Romania was still under communist control at that time, and they asked us to, if we take a moment to, I don't know, I want to use the word pray, but think of them during that hopefully they can get out of their terrible regime that they had at that time, which they did. So Alderman Severnick was in charge of releasing the doves with Alderman Griesbach and Bill Hertziger, and we encouraged the public when they traveled here before to collect water, and we had a lot of citizens that collected water. And Bill Hertziger collected water from the Dead Sea, and when he released that, well, it smelled like a bad sewage plant. So he was always a character, and he just loved events like that. He was just the greatest guy. So there was a lot of history to that. We had the ceremony, and then Director Tunkgate, he had the privilege of throwing the switch to fire up the fountain at that time. And like Alderman Severnick said, he has it on video, and we had a beautiful dinner across the street at that time, which was the
Bankroll.
what was it?
Bankroll.
Bankroll restaurant at that time. So it was really a unique, there was programs and everything for the event. They had high school kids singing. We had all the foreign exchange students represent their country from St. Mary's and Menasha to have the water from their country brought here, and they gave a speech and a story about it. So it was a very unique event. So there's a lot of, like Alderman Severnick said, a lot of history with it and a lot of sentimental value with it. So certainly it was of municipal standards, quality of the fountain. I don't think this fountain is up to that, but I think we still retain the fountain, and we have a wonderful program at the high school, and we have wonderful people that are in that type of business here. I think there could be an effort to refurbish that, and I'll tell you, the Gilbert Pond, I think that fountain that we have right now would look great over there, and the Gilbert Pond always had a fountain over there through the years, and it'd be a wonderful addition to the city. So I would hope that we can go back and let's look at that the fountain and see if maybe we can have someone in the community step up and have it refurbished and serve us for a lot more years. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Alderman Severnick?
Thank you, Chair. I think that, staff's going to need some kind of direction. And, I mean, so far only 2 aldermen kind of gave them that direction. I hope everyone else is comfortable with that. I think it's a landmark in our community, and that we shouldn't cheapen it, and that we should do what we need to do to take care of it. So that would be my direction, at least. I don't know if the mayor feels the same way, that we should do this, and we'll find the money.
Director Tungate, do you have an objection to trying to take a look at the fountain that was in there and reporting back at the next Board of Public Works on the status of it, if it's repairable?
No, I have no problem doing that. I think that's a good idea. We should at least check into that.
Okay, could you please do that and then report back at the next meeting? Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, the last is the adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. We have a second by Alderman Tom Grady. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Broadcasts of the City of Menasha Administration Committee, Board of Public Works, and Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Menasha residents and interested parties can obtain information about these meetings and meeting agendas from the city website, www.cityofmenasha-wi.gov. Expression of opinions regarding City of Menasha issues or about these broadcasts can be made by contacting the mayor's office, 920-967-3600, contacting their city alderman. Contact information appears on the website. Completing the electronic feedback form on the website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.